strong Saturn up there, but it's in a weak house, I would think.
Where were you when we talked about Goklan?
Maybe it wasn't a
Weak?
Isn't
The
a weak
strongest houses in the chart are the 9th and the 12th.
Well, as far as expressing outwardly,
As far as expressing outwardly, unless you're inhibited and lack faith. Goklan calls those the powerhouses of the chart, and everything he has found emphasizes the 9th and the 12th as the strongest houses in the chart. That's your ultimate ideal. And if you turn anything into God and do it in that way, it's going to be the most powerful thing in your nature, and it's going to show the strongest in your life. But if you doubt and have lack faith and inhibit, then you're going to have weakness, because you're blocking it.
that shows all the things that I have fiddled around with.
Been misinformed by bad astrology in the past.
And I really haven't put it to any use, and that's one of the reasons I haven't, because they started out by teaching me that the first house was positive, the second was negative, and
I know.
the third so on and
Rotten
on.
astrology. Rotten astrology.
One was overt and the other was invert and all that sort of thing. Well, you know the second house is not invert because that's...
Of course not. It's your pleasure in the physical world, your possessions, and your appetites. And
it might register more on the parasympathetic system and in a pleasure way on the internal structures.
It's not internal. It's very outer. Second house is absolutely outer. It's true that the 12th house is inner in the sense that it's the unconscious. It's the search for the absolute at the unconscious level. And for the people who are not inhibiting it, of course, a lot of astrologers were, and then they saw clients who were, so they saw the negative side of it. But when Goklan worked with highly successful, famous people, the top of the line, the planets in the 9th and the 12th house were the strongest keys to their character and their vocation, both. And the most probable place for Mars in sports champions, in surgeons, and in military leaders, the most probable place for Mars is 12th house. There were more Mars in the 12th house than all the rest.
Well, then Saturn is strong enough in that position, especially in Aries, to represent father, huh?
Sure. The thing is, it's a Neptunian father, because it is 12th house, but you have to remember Neptune can be artist or savior or victim, depending on which way they go. And it's an Aries father because it's Aries, and it's extremely important in his own identification, being in Aries and on the anti-vertex, which is like another ascendant. So he's very identified with that father, who was a combination Pisces-Aries, as he saw him. And depending on what he did with it, you could block the Aries and become a victim and a martyr, or you could express the Aries and say, my will is God, and I will take over the world and make the world be the way I think it ought to be. Or you could run away from the world to find your own world in your own terms, create your own world in your own terms. Lots of choices. But father dealing with Pisces-Aries issues, as this man has to deal with Pisces-Aries issues. And that's one of the combinations I consider one of the difficult ones. Whether you say, my will is God and overdrive, or whether you say, the world has all the power and I can't do what I want, I won't do anything, I'll leave, I'll shut up shop and retire, I'll give up, which is the way the astrologers, traditional astrologers deal with the 12th house. And that's the person who lacks faith and crawls in a hole. Okay, this is the freedom closeness dilemma. It's similar to an Aquarius-Scorpio square, only not as hard as a square, but it's the same principle. The Scorpio principle is to be very intensely involved, and the Aquarius principle is to stay at arm's length, right? So you have to have open relationships. If either person tries to possess the other, you'll get into one of those clutch-run dichotomies, and the person who's clutching, the other person will pull back. So you can't hold on to me, I won't stand for it. And either one can do it. You know, the person who has that in their chart, the other person will have something similar with the same meaning. So they both have to be able to have a somewhat open relationship where they accept each other as they are and still make a commitment. If you can do that, you can have a beautiful relationship. I've seen some really nice marriages where it's a really open, accepting, give and take relationship, both permitting the other to be themselves, be full individuals, and yet with a commitment.